Hi guys, it's Keegan with SearedAndSmoked.com, and today we're going to be smoking some awesome pork ribs. Have a nice couple St. Louis cuts that I'm going to use, and today we're going hot and fast. So we're going to try to get these done in maybe 3 hours or so, somewhere in there. We'll see how it goes. Obviously keep you posted as I go along how long these are going to take, and full recipe details as well on the blog. So really simple. We got a simple rub here, with only like 6 ingredients, and then we're also going to wrap these ribs and baste them, kind of braise them with a little butter and a little barbecue sauce, a mixture of these two. So really simple process, should be great results. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we got our St. Louis cuts here, and one's a little bigger than the other, but that's fine. And generally I just thought I'd first show you just how I usually just prep these. We're not gonna remove the membrane on the back today. You can certainly do that, but generally find with like a hotter smoke, generally it's not needed to remove this membrane that you're gonna find usually still attached to the back of the rib. So just show you how I clean one of these up. And basically what we're looking to do is just kind of make it just a little more uniform. So this one's not too bad. There's a little bit of excess meat that wasn't cut off from the rib on this side. So we're just gonna trim this down just a little bit. And then on the top side here, if you find like a really large fatty deposit like this on this end of this rib, then go ahead and cut that off. Generally, you're going to find the ribs have plenty of fat in them, so you don't really need to worry about saving any of that. And then beyond that, this side is just kind of all, it's not a whole lot of rib there, more just kind of not cleaned up so well, so I'll just trim that off. And depending on the size of your smoker too, sometimes the length might be a little too long anyway, so you might have to either cut them in half or trim them down, which is fine. And so that was a pretty easy one there. This one's a little bigger and a little more cleanup to do on the back side of it, so it's just a little thick and a little thicker on this end, so we're just going to shave it down. And all this is doing is it's just going to allow your pork to cook a little more evenly, so you don't have one side that's a little more underdone or overdone, and just make it a little more pretty as well. And that's about all we need to do to this rib. See what the other side looks like. Generally it looks pretty good. You'll usually find you'll have one end like this where it's kind of just a little different than the rest. So I'll usually kind of cut that cap off. And now we're ready to season these guys up with our rub. Okay, so we're ready to season these ribs up. Just have a simple rub here that I made today. I usually try to make the rub pretty much the day of, keep them nice and fresh. And only 6 ingredients. So we got quite a bit of black pepper, good amount of just regular old sea salt, kind of a coarser sea salt. Got some ancho chili, some ground ancho chili peppers, some celery salt, an equal amount to the sea salt, so equal ratios of those. Then we just have a little bit of onion powder and a little bit of garlic powder. So simple rub. I've used this one before, really like it, so we should have nice results with this and easy to make at home as well. So, and usually what I like to do is just, we'll season the back side of these. Just a nice even coating. I wouldn't really call it a light or heavy coating. It's just, I would say pretty, kind of in the middle somewhere. You don't want it caked on there by any means, but you want to get a nice texture from this rub. So you want a nice even coating. Something that will eventually make a nice bark on the outside. And one thing to note, we're not using sugar in this rub. Generally, for ribs, I kind of stopped putting sugar in it after trying Aaron Franklin's ribs, which is basically just salt and pepper. And kind of decided I didn't really need sugar in rubs anymore. And I think it makes sense just based on not having any burnt, scorched parts. So if you're, especially when you're going hot. So today we're going 325. So you definitely don't want to do any sugar in your rub when you're at 325 because it'll probably just burn. So that'll just give you a bitter flavor, which obviously we're not shooting for. So pat that in, flip them over, and repeat. And usually I'm not really worried about saving any excess rub from the day, so I don't really worry about cleaning my hands up too much and which hand goes in the spice jar and which one is touching the pork. So, but if you're worried about that, definitely keep one hand cleaning and one hand more for handling the pork. So, and generally we're probably using about probably 2 tablespoons per rack of ribs, I'd say. And generally I'll coat the top side just a little heavier than the bone side, the bottom side of the rib, just because this is where most of the meat is. This is where you're going to get more effective, probably flavor soaking into the rib. And we're also going to be, since we're using a butter and barbecue sauce mixture to braise these in, wrapped in foil, it's okay if these are a little on the salty side without that, because the butter and the barbecue sauce will add a lot of sweetness to it. So, okay, so we're all done. Ribs are looking good. You can see kind of the texture that we're going for. And generally I'll rub these down and then let the smoker come up to temp. So they might sit at room temperature, seasoned for maybe like 45 minutes. But if your smoker takes longer than that to heat up, then I would definitely you can either throw these back in the fridge or just wait to do these until the smoker's up to temp. So let's go ahead and get these on the Big Green Egg and get the smoking started. All right, guys, we're ready to throw the ribs on. Just thought we'd check out the setup real quick. Got the Flame Boss over here kicking. I've got that set at 325, so it's gonna hold nice and steady with no fuss. Awesome setup. And then we got a Big Green Egg here. So this is what we're using today. Got a modified setup inside the Green Egg that you can find at I believe it's ceramicgrillstore.com. They have some great stuff, so you can check that out. But let's go ahead and throw a few chunks of wood on, get these ribs going. We're just using a few chunks of cherry. So usually I do like 2 small chunks at a time. That's plenty of smoke. And we're gonna get these ribs on. Let them go for an hour. And then we're gonna spritz them. We'll do a little spritzing with apple cider vinegar and water solution just to keep them nice and moist. So that's about it. We got our wood on, got our ribs on. We'll check them in an hour. All right, it's been about an hour, so let's go ahead and open it up, give them a spritz, throw another chunk of wood, and we'll keep trucking. All right, they're looking pretty good. Looks like they're cooking relatively quickly like we want them to. Okay. Another chunk of cherry wood. And this is just our mixture of water and apple cider vinegar, about 25% vinegar, 75% water. And we're gonna do this about every 30 minutes. So let's move these around just a little bit. You can see that the ends are getting just a little more done than the center, so which is to be expected. All right, close this baby back up, and we'll spritz them for every 30 minutes for the next hour or so. Then we'll wrap them. All right, we're an hour and a half in, and we're just going to spray these guys down again. And now we're going to flip them as well this time. Lower temperatures, I probably wouldn't worry about this, but since we're trying to speed things up and go a little faster, this will probably just ensure that things are just cooking a little more evenly. So. All right, and we'll check back in another half hour. All right, it's been about 2 hours. Let's check out these ribs, see how they're looking. All right, coming along. We flipped these last time, so let's flip them back over. Oh yeah, starting to get some good color. Starting to see some of the meat retract from the bone, which is what we want to see. Telling us that they're getting a little more done. All right, I'm gonna give these 30 more minutes, and then we're gonna wrap them and braise them. All right, we're at the 2.5 hour mark, and we are going to wrap these ribs. Looking good. So we have our mixture of about 50% butter melted and then 50% barbecue sauce. We're just going to put a couple big tablespoons on top of them, then wrap them meat side down. And they should be ridiculously tender when this is all said and done. There we go. Flip those guys over. Put a little on the back side. Wrap them up nice and tight. Just roll up the ends here. Just repeat with our second rack of ribs. This was just one stick of butter melted with about equal amounts of barbecue sauce. And these babies are gonna be a winner, no doubt about it. I think we're gonna braise them for 45 minutes instead of an hour because they look pretty close to done. And we're also going to just turn down our smoker temperature. down to 290 degrees. And then we are good to go. Back on the smoker, 45 minutes, let them rest a little bit, and we are in business. All right, it's money time here. These ribs were on for a total of 3 hours and 15 minutes. All right, looking pretty good. Pretty tender. Sometimes a challenge is just getting it out of the foil. All right. Slice these babies up and then flip it over. That's just my dog drinking water. Thirsty little guy. All right, those look pretty damn good. See, you got a little smoke ring going on there. Incredibly juicy. I think it's a job well done. Now all we have to do is eat them. All right, it's taste test time. Absolute best time, no doubt about it. Beautiful looking rib there. Comes right off the bone. And really, really juicy. Probably one of the better ribs I've actually ever made. In under, well, at 3 hours and 30 minutes from start to finish, including resting time, I don't think you can beat it. Give this a try. For the full recipe, go to searedandsmoked.com. We'll see you next time.